Bhaktiraj's question on condoms. I think he's right on that subject, but I do believe that we are also the molders of the younger generation. And as Joe's mentioned, that today in our own drawing room, the world has come to our doorstep. Thanks to Star TV, CNN and all that, we know what is happening in Chicago. There is a moral responsibility on each one of us. And that is what I'd like to say. Even though you may ask Yesudas to come in, the South India is still very deeply rooted in its faith and religion. We need to tap our religious heads. The Catholic Church, how are you going to react to the condom use? Again, the Catholic Church. But the younger radical priests are saying that's the only way. But you ask your Archbishop here, he'll say, well, I have to ask my pontiff and things. But that has to change also. The need to preserve life which God has given us is important. And so much with the Shankaracharya. If the Shankaracharya says use a condom, I mind you, apologies, but it will have effect. And so with the Imam, the Muslim leaders, we need to tap our Muslim leaders. I cannot but help thinking of Vijay's slide. The AIDS patient needs spiritual support. You think our priests, they are not they are outside us. Bring them into the fold. They need to be educated too. They need to be taught counseling too. And that's not just to the Christians. That is to every faith that exists in South India today. I do believe that we need to tap them also. Bring in the voluntary organizations. Bring in the heads of churches. Heads of faith. And we will then win our.
Didn't think of extramarital sex would begin to think of it just because you make condoms easily available. We, in India, I'm sorry to say, we're a prudish society, but we're also very much a hypocritical society. You mean to say people don't know? You don't have to go and teach them. It's just that we don't talk about it, and we pretend that we are better than we are. It's open in the West, it's covered up here. So I don't think this is going to be a problem with putting condom dispensers. And just like Sarah just said, I think another group who needs training on awareness are the school teachers. School teachers and educators, religious heads, as she said, or people who are responsible for the spiritual involvement of the community. And when we educate the general practitioners, we have to educate them not only about the disease itself, but also about the way they use syringes. I'm afraid that is a very big problem in this country, which may not be a problem in the US. And many of our general practitioners are still just boiling their syringes. They put it into a boiling water sterilizer, just keep on putting it in and out. It doesn't even get boiled. No, even the 20-minute sterilization is not really done. And they are, I'm sure, responsible for spreading some of the HIV at least. So that is a very essential part of the education of GPs here. And as he said, with the dispensers of the condoms, AIDS information should be available alongside. Wherever these dispensers are, those dispensers also should be there. And I think it's also important to make HIV testing optional and easily available. It is not easily available here. No, just now for instance, I'll tell you, my own group of patients, I'll tell you, it's not cheap also. My own group of patients, there are many patients who sometimes ask for a HIV test. If they have an obscure neurological disease, and I suggested to them, they are not against being tested. But then it's not easily available, and for some it's too expensive. They have to go to some place, it's too secretive still. I think HIV testing also has to come out into the open. Just like advice about safe sex has to come out into the open.
Now my suggestion to that is, especially if you can link it with the, maternal and child health and family planning.
Which is what they've done in Africa.
Yeah. No, what we can do, there you are testing anyhow the blood. And this result of the blood testing should be confidential. And I think we can develop a register for this particular thing. See, that I think will go a long way.
In fact, antenatal screening tests which are routinely done
No, you need not.
include a VDR.
Yeah.
And it is
You
it is
can do
only
this
a
test
dramatic
also.
this thing to include a HIV testing
Yes,
into that regime.
Now it is being improved.
Yeah.
But then you are still not tapping the whole population by that means.
That is the problem.
But anyhow,
Not
that's
everybody goes
Exactly.
through it. That is the problem.
And there are many home deliveries where if you can
It
have
is to
a
screen
local
all
collection once.
antenatal.
all on. That's right.
Can this be one of
That
your
should be achieved.
items on the agenda when you meet the health?
What's your...
That antenatal.
Antenatal screening for HIV.
Pregnant women.
Yeah, and the
Or
mother and child,
Pregnant
any
to
hospital.
medical. Pregnant.
Pregnant women.
Expecting.
How about prenatal? Screening
Yeah,
for...
that's right, antenatal screening.
For whom? For mothers.
All
for
pregnant women.
mothers.
All pregnant women.
Certainly.
He wants to say something.
Less of symptoms if come, the person should approach a doctor.
No, unfortunately, this is not a disease like
Because what happened, one of his friends, I can't name him, he had a doubt because he had been to a hospital. And he came and asked me what are the symptoms. I said I don't. Then he was very much scared and he went and done a test and all. Then he came back and said no, I don't have.
That is
Till
only
then it was.
scared is a symptom.
Unfortunately,
So this is important because
To go for
suppose
a
if
test.
you go to a college student and if you're going to propagate all this, they are going to ask you this.
No, you have to tell them it's an asymptomatic disease for a long time. That is the problem.
So in that case, would you suggest uniform screening of all the colleges?
That is what we're saying. Screening is the only answer. But then you must be willing to be screened. And this test has to have informed
It's true,
consent.
we have to educate them.
And if I'm correct, it's at this point the same boy who had his blood test, it may be in the window period.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, it's still in the blood, but not yet first surface.
Because he got the fear because he had some often fever and all. And he thought that his immune system has come down or something like that. That's why he went for the second.
Very briefly, I'll touch on one or 2 points in association with this whole program. I think we are going to depend on government. Having spent 37 years with the government of India and with the state government, I think we start depending on the government, we are not going to get anywhere. As Dr. Ganapathy said, it's the cart before the horse syndrome in a different perspective. I think we have got, it's the voluntary organizations and the NGOs, as they said, which have got to keep up the pressure. But they have got to do all the activity that is to take place. Government's wheels grind very slow, and if we depend on that, I think the AIDS will outstrip any activity by any of us. The second point is about what Dr. Ganapathy said, how to spread the message to the private practitioners. Now here again, voluntary organizations like Rotary, Lions, Tablers, JCs, what have you, all of them are available, in which there are a number of private practitioners as members. So this would be one of the best channels, and I know, since I am a Rotarian myself, that all the Rotary clubs in this district are very much exercised over the AIDS program, and they've been asking us about it, because I have Dr. Suresh Kumar here, who is one of the pioneers in this area, and our Rotary is already in it. We have had seminars, etc. So many Rotarians come and ask us, now what do we do about this? So I think here this organization can very well provide them with a very nice window, because we keep feeding them with literature, and I think it's a real grassroots level organization. I'm not talking Rotary alone. All the voluntary organizations, if you take them together, and apart from that, I know from Coimbatore and all that, Rishi would be, there are so many other associations, even like your consumer guidance councils. They are also a very wide base. So wherever you have an organization with a wide base, you go through them and get the message across. So these were the 2 points I really wanted to mention. But before I hand over the mic to anyone else, I would like Dr. Suresh Kumar to react or interact on his 1 or 2 points. Because having been in the thick of it, I would like him to give his views.
Thank you, sir. I'm a psychiatrist. We have an organization called Punarjeevan, sponsored by the Rotary. My experience has been mainly with drug abusers. And sometime back we were thinking, or the government of Tamil Nadu was thinking, there was no drug problem, particularly intravenous drug users in this state. When the World Health Organization convinced the WHO team that there is a drug problem in this city. I can just briefly outline to you. We had a brown sugar problem, which is popularly known as heroin, in 1983 in Madras city, which grew and the prevalence increased over time. In the year 1988, when heroin became a little difficult to obtain in the Madras city, now many people started using injectable forms, what we popularly known as buprenorphine. Independent doctor would know it as buprenorphine, was popularly known as DDGesic or norphine, which has been very widely used by a number of heroin users. And today in the city, we have a number of intravenous drug users. Virtually almost all the heroin users were yesterday, using sugar by, smoking or chasing, has now, resorted to using this particular drug by needle. Now, in the area where I'm working in a slum near Weperi, in a place called Periyame. We have identified more than 200 intravenous drug users in that small packet alone. There's a hospital called Naval Hospital Road, a road in which there are so many lanes. In that few lanes alone, we have identified.
You are associating with Father Damien?
Yes. Huh? Yes. About 200 intravenous drug users we have identified. Me and Father Desi have probably worked in this particular area. We have identified more than 200 intravenous. I'm just talking about one small packet in Madras city. What has really happened is you are really not bothered to look at these intravenous drug users. We have studied the risk behavior in them. The risk behavior is very high. They are illiterate, they have no knowledge about needles, and they are sharing needles and drugs. Now, the second important thing is about the sexual behavior of these intravenous drug users. Many of them have very casual sex. They have sex with commercial sex workers. They have sex with whoever, even the acquaintances. The sexual behavior is also quite risky in this particular behavior, individuals. Contrary to the belief that drug users do not have sex, many of them are having sex. Even when we tapped in a research questionnaire, when was the last sex, many of them admitted that it was in the last 1 month. Even though their sexual activity has come down, they are still in active sexual practice. And many of them are having sex with casual acquaintances. So we have a very great risk among them. Screening is a very important problem in them because what has happened in Northeast is a lesson to us. In Northeast, every hospital which treated substance abusers, they were supposed to screen for HIV. And once they were detected HIV positive, and you would be astonished to note that 75% of the drug users in this community have been proved to be HIV positive, but then the society started marginalizing them. I mean, hospitals did not welcome these people, and these addicts were totally marginalized. Already, addicts are marginalized, and HIV positive addicts are going to be terribly marginalized. So we are not very happy in screening these individuals. We know they are indulging in a high risk behavior, both in terms of needle sharing and in terms of sexual activity, and we need to carry out a risk reduction strategy. We are carrying out two-board activities at the moment in the slums of teaching them safer sex practices and also teaching them how to use drugs safer. I know it's very difficult to make them abstain from drugs overnight. Many of them not even willing to enter into a treatment program. So we teach them how to use drugs safely. We're not trying to say drug use is safer, but we are trying to teach them as long as they want to give up this drug, we would teach them safer drug practices. At the moment, what we are using is, it's very difficult to provide clean syringes to them because the economy would not permit us to dispense disposable syringes to these individuals. So what we are doing is, we have asked this Robin Blue, is coming out with bleach liquid. House bleach is available in every household. We're just asking them to use, teach them bleach, but what we are really indulging in. We are actually making this bleach available in the church premises. It would be, I would react to Mrs. Sarah's. We are really helped by the churches in that particular area because it's a church who's come out with the problem, and in the churches you'd be surprised the father is distributing condoms. It is always believed that the Catholic churches are against issuing condoms. They're talking about it. They're talking openly in the churches about HIV, and they are distributing. Father is distributing condoms to the slum dwellers over there, and he called some sisters and nuns to talk to the slum dwellers about condoms, and we are simultaneously carrying out these practices. But I have a feeling that this particular group of intravenous drug users which are there, I would probably imagine, it will be a guesstimate, may not be a real estimate, but then I would put the numbers to more than few thousands in the city. And then there are independent practitioners who are just giving injections to many of their clients. They are really not knowing what they are giving. And in fact, we have a research worker who is working with us. He collected needles and syringes by bribing the ayahs in the private clinics and collected the syringes from the private practitioners. We were surprised to note that many of the needles were rusted, used so many times, and then they had not just visible blood also was found in some of the syringes, and the muscle tissue was found in some of the needles. You can imagine the kind of thing that is happening. So it is a very different kind of a picture we have with regard to what is probably going to happen. So this particular group, I'm sure requires attention because all along the government of India has been focusing. scientific people like Dr. Kataraj, they have been able to take the major chunk of activity to STD clinics. I'm not trying to say that STD clinics do not get. Our blood banks have received a lot of attention. This particular area of intravenous drug use has been grossly neglected. Even the parliament did not talk about it much because they think it's a problem only in the northeast. But they really do not understand that many of the Manipuris are there in Madras also. You go to some of the teaching institutions in Madras city. So for example, in St. Thomas Mount, there are so many northeastern Indians who are settled down and then were studying their course in Madras, in St. Thomas Mount. So we have a very important population, namely the intravenous drug users. From them, there is an onward transmission which is very much likely to the people, the spouses they are in touch with, and we have identified female clients in this area who are not only indulging in intravenous drug use, who are also commercial sex workers, and you can imagine the kind of thing that happens with them. So this is a kind of a scenario that we have, and we have very serious problems to tackle. I would be very happy if Karen Share really looks at this group of individuals who really require attention.
With the matter about AIDS, the cause of the disease and other things, and paste it all over Tamil Nadu in the vernacular languages. Thereby, and you know that people are fond of reading posters. So they will read the posters and know about what
be elected unanimously, and hopefully they could work with that team, and we could continue our AIDS awareness program as well as prevention program in the state of Madras. And through this group, we could also put some pressure to the government like you were talking about. That's the only way that we can get some results out of the government. So, I'm going to take the privilege of nominating Mr. Ravindran, K. Ravindran, to hold the president of the current chair of Madras chapter. Tamil Nadu chapter, I'm sorry. I always talk about Madras. I'm not used to the Tamil Nadu yet. So hopefully that you're accepting it. Please. Thank you. Mr. Newton Devasahayam as another vice president. Dr. T. Ganapathy as the medical director. Dr. Suresh Kumar, the secretary. Mr. C.V. Anthony, he's the banker, so we had to put him on the treasurer. We need the money anyway. He is also an active participant in Lions Club. And the executive committee, I'm going to give it to Dr. Vijay so he can call the names. Please, Vijay.
What your president, Mr. Ravindran, said, he's leaving it open for all of you all who are here also to be included, and he would nominate more people. At this time, we'd like to say have the pleasure of nominating these committee members and like your acceptance. Dr. Kritika Chari, Dr. Pantraj, Dr. Lokasundri Selvaraj, Dr. R. Mailwagnan, Mr. Nasir Ahmed, Ms. S. Chandra, and Mrs. Shamla Natarajan too, and Geeta, and the other doctor too who's there. All of you all could. And Dr. Dhanraj is also here. He was a junior colleague of us from Kilpauk Medical College, who last year served as an MLA in the DMK period, and now Dr. Dhanraj is the
You have given us the pass before.
Yes. You have the whole
So
pass.
we must get advertising agents.
Yeah.
A theatre people. And advertising, theatre.
We'll give you
What
a
media?
What
We'll
would
give you
be the conditions
educational.
That's up to you all too. You all could have your own bylaws.
We will give you a copy of the bylaw. Based on your bylaw. Based on that bylaw,
Yeah,
you can
that's a
make some modifications.
This seems the right time to honor Mr. K. Ravindran, IPS, former Director General of Police, who is popularly known as the modern-day reformer of social evils. His causes, especially his concern for the youth, the students, is remarkable. 15 years ago, Mr. Ravindran and Dr. Vijay were an inseparable duo. on the community activity and to message.
I will be able to live up to your expectations. I think as this young lady here said, I have been involved with Vijay, and even though quite a few years have passed since we last met, apparently he hasn't forgotten our old association, and that's why he pulled me to this. All I can assure you is that we can all work as a team, and if we work as a team, each one of us using our clout in particular areas, I think we should be able to make a success of this. So I look forward to this tremendous amount of cooperation from all of you, and I think I will convene a meeting as soon as possible, at which we could perhaps, as Sarah said, co-opt a few more important people from the education group, the advertising group and others, and then we'll have sub-task forces. We'll set each one of them a goal. Then we can keep monitoring it once a month or something like that. Thank you very much.
I think it's about time that we should recognize somebody here. Mr. Prabhakar has been nominated, and today I gladly make an announcement that he has accepted as the Indian National Care and Share President. So please welcome Mr. Prabhakar and the Sampath, Secretary General of Indian Chapter.
Well, first let me thank for having made me the national president. I'm not sure whether I deserve all this, but all that I can say is that a heavy task has been passed on to us, and we can assure you that we will leave no stone unturned to be able to justify your selection. We have been today indoctrinated into the problems and preventions that is required for the AIDS disease. And what is magnanimous on your part has been that you are anxious that India should not get into a stage in which it becomes something which will be uncontrollable. And that is where you have come in at this stage, and that is greatly appreciated. We now have the 3 task forces which will render firstly the educational part of it, the clinical management part of it, and finally the institutional part of it. And I can assure you that my best services could be utilized, particularly in the last phase, which is institutionalizing, because obtaining land, getting things cleared, and establishing a hospital is no easy task. But let me assure you that I will do my level best. And thank you very much for all those who have taken part, and thank you for all the confidence that you have vested on us, and I hope we will come up to your expectations. Thank you.
Mrs. Karen Chen, for having accepted an invitation and took part, and for all your valuable suggestions, and your agreement to work as a team to implement this project successfully in Tamil Nadu. I thank you on one and all on behalf of Mrs. Karen Chen. Thank you.
I'm concerned.